Hello there, Rhythmn once again. This is my Hi-Fi Rush Rhythm Master video walkthrough. We're on track 7, it's called The Climb. This fight's really hard. This fight has a shield monster, it has a bunch of guys with swords, and it has a random brutal that's just chilling out and being a nightmare. This fight made me go into training mode and fight against the brutal because he kept hitting me and I didn't know what he was doing. But when I did that, it made it a lot better and it enabled me to survive. This is an interesting level, this one, because I'm really conflicted with it. I think it's way too long, and I think it uses the same assets as the previous level that we were on that I didn't like, so it inherits all the fatigue from that level. Even though there are parts of it that are quite fun, especially the start bit. But compared to the lift that we just did, the Lift Me Up level, which was really short and really focused and very different to anything else we've done, this one just kind of leans back into repeating those same tropes, climbing up a tower, and because it is the same aesthetic, I just don't think it's as interesting as what you've been doing in the other parts of the game. And this game's greatest strength is when it's been bold, when it's been colourful, and when it's constantly shifting. The moment it rests on its laurels and repeats an action, it gets less interesting. But here we go. We get the final desperation move from the brutal, we get the blocks, we get the kill. See you later, sir. And then my timing was trash. Other than that, it was a really, really good ranking.
Well, safe to say they know you're here.
But the onus right now is to push forward on this construction area. And I really love this start part here with all the scaffolding, because it looks interesting. It's got these purple lights, it's got the tunnel that we were just in. I do think they missed a bit of a trick on that previous level. I feel like if you're going to put somebody on an auto-scroller, you need to make the background look interesting. And if this was on a weak console like the Switch, I could understand them making it just be like a purple tube. But when we're talking about next generation and PC, like, I wanted to see a little bit more in that zone. And I can't help but think of Vanquish, because of course, you know, Shinji Mikami was at the helm of that one, even though this one I think he just executively produced. In Vanquish, when you do those scrolling missions, you are on a satellite and you can see all kinds of things all around you the whole time, going through all these wonderful space cities, and it looks amazing in a game that gets critiqued for how it looks because it's quite grey. But I always thought that those sequences looked amazing, and I would have loved there to be just something for you to see there as you're blazing past it. And it might have got in the way visually, it might have been a bit more awkward to play, but this game is so good visually that you can't help but want it to keep impressing you. It's one of the things, it's almost like a double-sided sword. It does so much in that opening hour that you just can't wait to see the next burst of explosive colour, to see the next crazy piece of really interesting and grounded design that works and makes you laugh and has that wonderful charm. So that when you do get to a sequence that turns into, you know, something a bit more mundane and a bit more rote, it really stands out. And I don't even think that these are real criticisms as far as, you know, this is a bad thing about the game. It's not. It's just clearly weaker than the aspects that are so strong. Like, look at the room like this. We've been in this room a few times now, and they're building towards the cohesion of this tower and this building that we're in, this situation. They're tied down to an aesthetic that fits with the world. It's consistent. I can't complain about that, you know, I can't critique that because it's accurate to what they're building. But I just can't help but get inspired and want more. Because there's so much character here and there's so many interesting things. But even this location here, we've seen this room before. This is another reused asset that adds cohesion to the world and the world building. But do you really want to be walking around purple labs in this game when everything else is so fucking awesome? But they do say, don't they, that contrast is king. Sweet is sweet when bitter's been present, you know. If you've never tasted bitter, then sweet doesn't matter. Same with love and hate, isn't it? Anyhow, this is a tough fight, this, guys, because immediately if you get hit by that shot that he gives you, you die instantly because the rank will decay. So get stuck in, get your combos going, build up your numbers, do whatever it is you like to do, keep your parries on board, and buy some ripostes as well. I've bought one of the ripostes, but I don't want to burn my meter, so I'm not doing it, even though you can't take it with you. And as soon as this fight ends, they're going to steal it from me. It'd have been interesting, though, if I'd have done this walkthrough on an inherited character with all the stuff in the game. It would have been vastly different fights, guys, because some of the stuff you can do when you've got a proper character, it's crazy. And we get everything there except for the score, and we get an A star, which sounds really good on paper, but in this game it's not good enough. I love the colour theory in that room. As much as I don't like this level, and I feel like they reuse this whole server/elevator aesthetic, the colour theory here is phenomenal. That previous area with the greens and the purples and the blues, everything complementing, contrasting, really, really good visually. But here we go, we've got these two fellas with swords. I love this enemy. There's the thrust, that's one hit, that parry, if you do that, but I didn't need to because we got the stun. And we come back down, what are we going to do? Going to do the standard triangle. Oh no, do a couple of, what is that? Triangle, square, square. That one's 2 hits, that. Getting broken, we get the hit. Can we launch them both? Oh my goodness, this is perfect. I love this. Dude, I love hitting multiple people in this game. It feels so good. Here we go. Put him down, get the S, 23 hits. We drop the combo. We don't. We keep it going. Nice. But he dies too quickly. Second phase. What do we get? There's 808 having a good time. I love that transition, it's really funny. How do you feel about the multiple fights per arena? I don't know if I've spoke about this because I kind of complained about this a little bit on stream. I got attacked from off screen then and I heard him, which is really bad. I don't know why I did that. Probably quite tired this night or something. Just not playing as good as I should be. But you might notice through the pacing of the game, and I might have mentioned, that instead of having lots of fights, this game has less fights, but some of them are multi-tiered. And this is, of course, it's a design choice, it's a preference, it's a style. I don't like it. I've never liked it. I don't like waves of enemies. It's one of the reasons why I don't do challenge maps in games and things like that. Like, I like a fight where it's designed once, and I like to then move to the next fight and do it like that. I'm very segmented in what I like. So for me, instead of, for instance, having a fight where it's 3 enemies, 2 enemies in 3 waves, I would rather have every single enemy at once. And I know that might sound crazy to some people, but that's just how my brain works. I don't like waiting for fights and waiting for spawns and knowing that I have to wait and do more. I want to face everything then and there and be in the middle of an impossible situation, and when I win once, I've won in entirety. And it's just who I am. I can't get rid of it, I can't fix it, I've tried really hard. It's just how my brain works. So I would rather have more fights, but not have them be multiple spawns, multiple tiers, multiple enemies like that, because I don't enjoy it. And I don't really know why. It's one of those mental blocks that I have, and playing Hi-Fi Rush, I've learned to accept it, and I've learned to do it and put up with it and deal with it and everything, but there are still moments where I catch myself going, oh yeah, there's another wave. Huh, damn. And I wish I didn't. I really do. I wish I could kind of just embrace it and really start to like it, but it's not for me. And it's same with this. This part of the level, guys, I really like. I think this part of the level is superb, but I think this part here should be in the previous level. It should be in track 5, and I don't think that this level should exist. I think you should have gone doing those, fixing the elevator, but don't do as many as the game makes you do, and then instead of fixing like the final 2 elevators or the final 3rd elevator, you climbed this tower instead. And I think if those had been together, you wouldn't have felt like you're constantly coming back to this prison of this green-blue neon cyber lab right here. To me, it hurts the game. And I can't get off it, you know, I can't like move past it and be like, it's still great, even though it is still great. You know? It's not a bad level, I just don't like it, and I think it hurts the pacing. And I think if you combined this with track 5, there would be 1 less tracks, and I think that the game would have a better flow, because I think it's too long. The track after this is too long as well. When you go into like the underground, the tunnels and the lab again, shit's too long, man. And it's funny, isn't it? Because it's too long because you spend too much time not fighting. Like, if all of this time was spent fighting, I'd probably have a different opinion because I'm so biased towards the combat. But it's not. This is shit where you're not really doing anything. So when you replay the game, you realize how much time you spend not fighting. Speaking of fighting, here we go. Samurai guy with two laser men. So watch this dude, right? He's gone into his parry stance. When he flashes, you need to parry. Like that. And I'm watching him the whole time, guys. You might be like, how did you do that? You know, you were fighting that other guy. I wasn't. I was just pressing buttons and waiting on that noise. And I'm going to do it again if he does it here. And this is one of the things that you learn to do if you're new to the game. If you've never played action games before, watching multiple things and waiting for stuff like that is what it's all about. And at first it's going to seem like it's impossible, like it's wizardry. And then once you get more experience, you're going to do it without thinking. And he does it again. It's coming here too. Just wait for it, hear the noise, press the button, beat him up. And if you can get a stun like I just did, you should be able to do some big damage on him hopefully and give him a big launch. And then he jumps away from my super, which is really lame. Damn, that sucked. And now he goes into his second phase. So again, guys, I don't know the parry yet, so am I trying to do it? Yeah, I got hit though. I didn't do it quite right. The reason I didn't do it is because I didn't do the final bit. There we go. We're steadily doing it, but I'm not doing it correctly. But I'm not running away, so I finally got to the point where I'm like, okay, let's stand and try and do this. Practice makes perfect. The next time you see me do that, I should do it correctly. And I shouldn't get hit. Because I think at this point I took this guy into the training mode and looked at it a bit more. Which is why the training mode is so good, guys. You need to use it. And pay heed to the chorus numbers here as well. The chorus numbers are out of sequence because you have a choice. And apparently I did not go the designated path on some of these areas, so that gets a bit confusing. But hopefully you'll be able to keep up with it. It's not too bad. But this level is so long. It's so long and it's the same aesthetic. What were they thinking? This bit's really cool here because you can jump on top of this door frame and then you can jump across. And I love exploring in this game because you find really cool stuff. And by cool stuff, I mean things that are actually useful. You find currency to buy things, and there's lots of stuff to buy in this game. You find batteries that help you in the next fight you're coming up against. And sometimes you might find something you've not found before, which is a permanent upgrade. And that's exactly how you want to do it. You want to make people want to explore. Sadly, there's not enough shit to break. Like, why can't I beat these servers up and get some really, really crunchy electrical sounds and things breaking? Does anybody remember Alien Storm on the Mega Drive or the Genesis? There was levels in Alien Storm where they went into first person and you get to shoot up like awesome supermarkets and all kinds of crazy labs and things, and you shot the shit out of them and it all destroyed. You could destroy the shelves, you could destroy everything you could see, you could reduce to rubble. And it was so goddamn satisfying. I'll never forget the first time I played Alien Storm and I went into that supermarket and I smashed the shit out of everything with the gun. Because that's what really satisfying, memorable game design is. And this is an amazing game that has incredibly satisfying design. The way they've made this game, from its visuals to the way that it moves to the beats, to just everything fully realized and elegantly done with no marketing, it's a masterpiece for that. It really is. And every time I mention something, guys, which I wish was slightly different or that I don't like, I say it with the full knowledge that the game is still easily the best thing I've played in a long time. Like, if this game came out last year, it would have been my game of the year. I'm going to keep saying that because it's true. I think this game is that good. It's got that much going on. And I'm still nowhere near good enough to really understand what's going on in the whole game, you know? I'm just not good enough at it, I should say, rather than whatever I just said then. And that's a good thing, you know? Because it makes you strive to want to be better. And there's lots to get busy with in this game, lots to do. And it's incredibly fun too. And even though, you know, some of the levels I wish were slightly different, and even though I wish there was more fighting, and even though I do think it's a touch long when it comes to replaying it thanks to some forced tutorials and story things still moving and checkpoints not being as desirable, and the inability to restart checkpoint completely killing all desire to rank run unless you're incredibly masochistic. Even with all of those things, I still think this is a close to a 10 out of 10 I could give. Even with all my criticisms, guys, I still think this game might be a 10. And I don't give 10s out lightly. Ooh, this fight's hard. So we have two shield guys and then a shielded dude who shoots you. So I'm going to do the same thing I learnt before. Jump in midair, keep hitting his shield, build your style up, build up your reverb, and then as soon as you break him, launch him into a kill. And then now you need to focus on getting Macaron out to break the shields. If you break all the shields and break this guy, you can start doing some assists and hitting everybody. Because sometimes it feels like certain assist moves have got some nice knock-on. Look at that, the double launch. Love to see it. And then I swapped targets in midair. That was cool. 100 hits, 100,000 score. It's all going so well. I think this has multiple phases too. Here we go. Here we go. Damn, that move's really good at hitting. I completely... Damn! This is a good fight so far. Playing a lot better than I was in some of the other ones. What could possibly go wrong? Because you know it's going to go wrong at some point. There we go. 160 hits into the second phase. Really, really nice. What can we do now? A brutal with 2 shield guys. And I dropped my combo. No! Oh, that was brutal. That could have been so clean. And here we go. The brutal's doing what brutals do best. He's doing his big combo. The only thing you want to watch out for this guy is that move just then. It can anti-air you. And additionally, when he does his spinning move, if you do not press parry really quickly, it will just wreck you. And if you get stunned by somebody else and he does that move, it will instantly kill you because it happened to DSP and it was hilarious. But the brutal, I'd love to focus on the brutal here, but I'm trying to get rid of everybody else. And as long as you're high, you don't have to worry too much about that particular attack. And now that that's happened, I can look at him and get involved. And one of the good things to do against this creature, if you're struggling, guys, is to use the backstab. When you do magnet into backstab, you get behind him and he stands still, and you don't have to put up with his bullshit. And then here's the spinning slash, which we've seen several times. One of the easier parry combos. But again, nothing's truly easy in this game, guys. It's all very difficult. And the biggest issue is that when you play on normal, everybody attacks slow. And a lot of the timing windows are really generous. So when you start pushing the difficulty to very hard, and then the timing window gets tighter and people get faster, by the time you get to Rhythm Master, everything's fast and everything's tight. So if you're not on the beat and you think you are and you're not quite there, you're going to really suffer. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? I can't teach you how to be rhythmic. I can't teach you how to move to a beat. If you're a musical person, you will find this game easier than someone who is not. And that's just the truth. And of course you can learn music, it's not like it's something you can't learn. But I do think some people just have a disposition, don't they, towards it. They have an affinity, an aptitude. And if you do have that, you will have a much easier time with the game. And I was listening to the director speak on an interview, and he was saying that the people in the music department find the game really easy. Because as long as you do things on the beat, you're invincible, you know? If you parry on the beat, you're really safe. If you've got good timing and you know beats, you're doing a lot of damage. Like, they found the game very, very, very simple to them because their brain is musical. But if you're not musical, you're going to have a much harder time. And the director had to pretty much say that, like, guys, you guys are really, really good at being rhythmic. Not everybody is. So we can't just make the game for master musicians, as I mess up a jump just then. You know, they have to make the game for everyone. And one of the things that he wanted to say, which I think is going to stick with me because I found it really interesting, is he wanted to make a game that felt really, really awesome when you were on the beat, but also didn't make you feel bad when you weren't. And that resonated a lot with me because my design philosophy is not like that in my brain at this moment in time. To me, if you don't do something right, I want to punish you. As bad as that sounds, like, games are so easy now. I don't want people to coast. I don't want people to feel like they get to participate. I don't want to give them a trophy or a medal. I want somebody to turn up and be like, boo, you fucking suck. Because that's what forces people to improve. But then you realize, don't you? Like, that's why if I were to make a game, my game, when it gets difficult, is going to be punishing. Whereas this game is very hard and does punish you, but it doesn't make you feel bad. And it doesn't make you feel shit, even though it makes me feel shit, because I don't like not being on time and stuff, but that's because I'm weird. And I think that that's really, really clever and really smart, and one of the reasons why this game's going to be successful. Because if I remove how I feel about games objectively, that's the best opinion to take. You make a game that feels great to play when you're good at it, and still feels great to play when you're bad at it, you've made exactly what you need to make. You've made something that appeals to all markets. But it's very hard to do that, you see. And I think they did a great job here. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that if I'd have made this game, it would have definitely, especially on the harder difficulties, it would have been more punishing. And not in the way that this game is, because the rank going to D and killing you, I just don't think that that's very interesting. I never have. Like, it's... If you look back on any of my videos where I did fantasy patches for Dark Souls and I told people what I wanted for sequels to Dark Souls, I went so masochistic with some of that stuff because that's where my heart was and that's what I wanted for that franchise. Everybody used to say that those games were really difficult and the hardest things in the world, so I wanted to make that a reality and make those people face what they were asking for. And I didn't do that out of spite or out of malice, I did that out of love because I wanted it, you know? I don't want it anymore, I don't look at it like that, I don't see games like that to the same extent. I've definitely changed on that particular platform. And I'd be curious as to what I actually do want. These are the type of things I'm thinking about a lot now with the idea of actually making something for somebody to play. Because it's not about me. It's about my vision and what I want, but it's also about something that enables you to turn it into something that you want. And I think that that's really important. This is a great fight, by the way. I love this room as well. This is a beautiful room with all the screens and the blue and the red colours. It's unfortunate that we fought in an elevator just like this, and here we go, they introduced the kimono enemy, so this guy's awesome. Everything he does has got a really fair telegraph, but he's really fast and the camera's a bit too slow to keep up with him. So one of the best things to do, guys, is use the magnet and do the backstab. You might not see too much of that in this fight, because I'm just going to beat the fuck out of him. But there's the stun draining, and whenever he attacks he does a big flash and then he comes at you really quickly. So just watch out for that, and occasionally he'll jump into the air and then he'll fire some, like, he'll do like his weird air movie thing. I don't really know what he's doing when he's in the air when he does that, truth be told, but he's doing something. And then we've got the final move here, which is another one where you have to press it a lot of times. There we go, we kill him. Chorus 6, we get the triple S, but no star. Sad. Just not good enough, guys. Maybe next year. And then we open up the next part of the level. And there's a super. So this is interesting too. You pick up, and it's Rip and Tear, which is a really, really interesting super. I was talking about that in a previous video. It's 3 reverb bars, and they fire a really fast claw, and it leaves this spinning blade effect. If you stick that spinning blade effect on someone, it's unbelievably strong. But if you don't, it goes past them and does barely any damage. It's very, very skillful, but very situational. And it does not affect shields, and it doesn't affect bubbles. So if they have the blue shield or the green shield, you're out of luck. But if they don't, I can see it being very, very good. And you always want to err on the side of very good, because if you use it right, you'll get something going. And now this is the bit I would have preferred as well. Like, this is the part of the tower which I think is a lot more interesting, because it involves the laser hazard, which makes it make more sense. But then the colour scheme changes, but you're still doing you're like in the same environment with a different colour scheme. And it just sounds like I'm being pedantic with my critique of this stage, but I don't know what it is about it, guys. It just rubs me the wrong way. There's just something. And you'll have to tell me if you felt the same. I just felt like the middle of this game took a nosedive into... I noticed what I was doing, whereas before I didn't. I was too busy having fun and loving it. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, I'm in this green lab for a really long time. And it's funny because when I first played, I didn't realise it was 2 different levels. I thought it was just 1, and that's why it felt so exhausting. Ooh, be very careful here. This robot with the Gatling gun, he can shoot you out of the air. We need to kill him. If we don't kill him, he's going to anti-air us consistently. But we need Peppermint to break his shield, so I'm just going to do full combos on him and keep bringing Peppermint out. As soon as that shield goes down, this guy's in trouble. But there's his gun right there. That's the one that shoots you in midair. I think another thing that hurts this level a little bit is every environment when you fight is a circular arena like this. And I don't want to be that guy that says like, oh, every area is just a circle like they did for Evil West, because I just don't think it really made a difference in that game. But in this game it does. And I don't think that's a double standard. I just think that when you have a game that's so creative at bringing you encounters, when it goes to a level where every encounter is a circle in a digital landscape, you start to notice it. And it reminds me of last night when I was editing. So last night I was editing while listening to a new album, and I was listening to a podcast at the same time because, as I've mentioned, I've got I've got a stupid brain. So I'm editing, I'm listening to this cool new album, I'm listening to this podcast, and all of a sudden I start feeling like, I don't know about this new album, guys. It's feeling a bit samey. Like, it's really good and I like it, but I might have to put something on for a moment to give it a bit of a break, because I listened to it for about an hour, and for some reason my brain's just kind of going, I want to hear something else. And my media player had fucked up. So instead of playing the new album, it played the first song on repeat. And it didn't have repeat on, it just did it. So I sat for 40 minutes listening to the same fucking song. And it's the credit to the song that I didn't immediately kind of go, what the fuck's going on here? I'm turning it off, I'll never listen to it again. Because it's an amazing song, but because that album has a very distinct sound, and because it's all so groovy and so chunky, and because I couldn't quite fully hear it because of the other audio that was playing, it just felt like it was a very similar song playing all the time. And it turns out it was the same song. So I was really pissed off about that. And then as soon as I swapped to a different song, I fell in love again because it's such a good album. But in that moment, I was just like, damn, I'm getting a bit bored of this album. And I was playing the same song. Oh my god, I felt so stupid. And the worst part is, it just took me so long to notice because I was so into the editing. It was ridiculous, really. Absolutely ridiculous. And if you're wondering what I was listening to, guys, I was listening to Jeff Gertzman, formerly of Giant Bomb, play this game and be consistently impressed by this game in the same way that I was. By just being like, this is a cool fucking video game. And I'm sat there doing the editing being like, yes it is, Jeff. And that guy's been covering video games longer than some of us have been alive, and he sees what this game is, so I was really happy to see that. Because all I want now is for the game to get the accolades it deserves. Because the biggest problem with a game that comes out in January is when you get to September, nobody remembers it. And even if it's the best game in the world, you'll still get those people that will shit on it because it's been a large amount of time since they last played it. And I think the biggest fear for Hi-Fi Rush is that it'll feel like a flash in a pan, and as time progresses, people will start to gradually shift their opinion towards it. That sucked. That was my fault, though. And I really hope it doesn't do it, because I think it would be so senseless to do that. And especially if you like the game, you're probably going to be playing it a bunch. You might even still be playing it in September, so you won't fall victim to this. But you see this a lot. I saw it with Elden Ring. People like throwing Elden Ring under the bus because it came out quite early. And then it went on to win Game of the Year anyway, right? I think it did. Not that I give a shit about Game of the Year personally, because it's just fluff. But some people do. It's a big deal. I think it won Game of the Year. Isn't that when the guy, dedicated former rehabilitated Rabbi Bill Clinton or something? I got a little bit lost here, guys. You'll have to bear with me. But it involves standing on top of this and then dropping off to the right. But I kept getting turned around for some reason. And it's because you have to turn around. Do you see where I'm looking here? It's just there. I just didn't see it. And then we get a fight, which is 4 flying enemies and 1 sword enemy. I love this assortment. I think they underused this flying guy that throws barrels at you. I also think they could have done with a couple more versions of them. This is one of those games where, you know how a game will have an enemy and then it'll have like 3 different elements of that enemy. So you'll get the fire version, you'll get the lightning version, you'll get the ice version. This game feels like they've only got like the 1 or the 2. You know, there's the fire one, there's the ice one. It feels like they could have added 1 more in. But they never do. And I feel like that with a lot of the enemies in Hi-Fi Rush. You've got the red ones, you've got the blue ones, and then later on they had some fire guys. But it almost feels like there was a 3rd Pantheon that we never got. Maybe that'll be DLC. I just wish the guys with the guns did more. All they do is exist to get all the way to the outskirts and shoot the shit out of you. So when they turn up at first, one of the big hurdles of learning to play this game is stop getting annoyed at the gunners. Because when you first play, like, you just get shot a ton. Like, I'm getting a shot a ton now anyway, and I've played a bunch. I don't really know what's going on here. I'm having a tilted fight, which is always fun to watch. But you just need to turn that part of your brain off that goes, is that guy really just going to run away and shoot me? Because that's video games, isn't it, really? I would be lying, though, if I didn't say I wish he had maybe 2 more attacks. It'd be cool if he had different shots. Like a charge one that was a bigger one or a slower one or something. Or maybe one that he fires into the air that comes down on you. And of course they do introduce different gunners with the flame gunner later on, and he adds up some spice. But they change his stun properties. which I think makes them way more difficult than they need to be. Because the one reason why gunners aren't the end of the world when they're annoying is because they're an easy launch, and when you launch them, you can kill them. But the flaming guy that's going to be turning up soon, you can't launch him immediately. You can't even interrupt him when he's doing his attack. So he can start doing a move, you can go to punish him, and because Chai moves forward when he's attacking, you can attack your way into his extended flaming beam, and you can take damage and kill yourself. And it leads to an interesting proposition, that of video games, where obviously the flame guys are dangerous, they're meant to be dangerous, that's their design. They're meant to do area of denial, that's what makes them powerful, and they do turn up at the end of the game where the game is meant to be more demanding. So you as a player have to look at that and go, yeah, this is what this is meant to be, this makes sense. But then when you start really fighting them and really playing against them and really looking into it, they just come across as a little bit overtuned. And it's just because they're a gunner that fights back, and all the game up to that point has been a gunner that is a nuisance but dies quickly. And that's the reason why I don't think many people will complain about them, because you get used to them pecking you from a distance, but then you go to them and you kill them and they're nothing. But with the flame ones, they're not nothing. So because they are so resilient, you have to treat them differently, and you have to deal with them differently. And as far as a combat solution for a player to address, it's really good, you know, because it mixes up, it subverts what you're doing. But when you're coming at it from a perspective of a higher difficulty and you bump into them, they're like a boss, because they don't let you immediately fuck them up. And you get into these situations where normally you could completely shut them down, but now you can't, so what do you do? And if you're not used to fighting them, they get really bad. Like, they're very hard, but they feel frustrating rather than challenging. And of course, once you get Korsica, you can deal with them a ton. Korsica is the tool to dealing with the fire guys, and when you get more experience, they become less of a nuisance. But when you're a new player and you first start fighting them, you're going to lose a bunch of continues to the flame people because they just work with different rules. But this fight's really tough. So we have 2 guys with swords, I think 2 standard gunners, and then we have this shielded guy with the gun. And I'm going to do everything I can to break his shield and then take him out, then magnet towards him and then combo him into oblivion. And I think the end of this is either a kimono or a bird. But until then, we're going to do backstabs into launchers, into our assists, into as many points as we can. We're getting the OTGs, we're getting repeated bounces. As long as we're in the air right now, they can't really do anything to us. Just be careful when you land, because there's so much chaos happening, and there's so much feedback going on. It can be difficult to hear if someone's about to whack you or do a full combo. And the only real time you'll die with an original life bar in this game is when you land and it's confusing and somebody does like a super precise meaty when you land. And it does happen, it happens a bunch. But second wave, what is it? We've got 1 baboon and then 2 guys with shields and swords. So right now, Peppermint is your best friend. I'm also going to use my super here to try and do as much damage to build some stun. As soon as the baboon is stunned, we're going to go into the air and just hopefully kill him and beat him into oblivion and keep bouncing him and keep relaunching him and doing all the good things you can do. There's Peppermint for the extension. Now we can go back up after with the magnet. There's the big combo here. Big combo, hit him down. Oh, I missed. He's dead though, it's good. And then be careful of the jump attack right there. So now we just have 2 swordmen. Swordmen like to do this one big long combo. You might see it. There's the dive bomb. Here it comes again. There was the parry, luckily. But if you see him do his... This is it, it's coming here. See him? He's doing it underneath me. But luckily I'm in midair. He's doing it now. And I shut it down. But that move, it's just a parry, wait, parry, wait, parry, wait, parry in that sequence. And he does about 4 or 5 hits. And if you use directional parries on it, you will almost always break his stun. And then you can punish him immediately afterwards. And then here's the kimono turning up. Which I apologise if I'm saying his name wrong. The names are like machine puns. But here we go. Launch him, big punish. Many assists as you can. Back into the air, big hits. Get those beat hits, get that perfect timing. What a cool fight. This fight's so awesome. And here we go. If I had a different ender, I could have done like a super in midair then, but I don't have that, sadly. And this guy's going to do his end. What does that say? Plasma Raw? I love how those screens look. So many cool parts of this game. And there we go. We don't get the start. Look at the score though, 247,000 score. That was really good. That might be one of the best fights on the run, that. Here's a weird thing you'll find though with this game, guys. Sometimes when you do the sexiest looking combos, you don't get many points. Sometimes when you do just like the most workman-like shit, you get tons of points, and it's all about keeping that combo up and doing different things. And there's sometimes when it feels like you get ripped off a little bit because you feel like you've done the coolest looking thing and nobody cared. But that comes with time. Once you learn the scoring a bit better, once you get better at keeping the combo going. I think I'm going to experiment with putting the chip on that extends your combo time so you can keep it going a little easier. I wonder if that's the trick to getting really, really sick combos, because I drop my combo all the time by not attacking quickly enough and on the beat. And then we have the Korsica boss fight. So sadly guys, I can't help you here because this is all precision. You have to do this yourself. And you can't mash. Mashing's just going to make her repeat the move. And what I've done is I've trimmed out all the bit where you walk around each other, and I've left in the bits where you do the parry. And all you do guys, if you want to practice this, watch my video, watch what it asks her to do it along with the video to get the timing down, and then do it on your video. Pause it, come back to the video, practice the timings, go back to your video, do it then. And hopefully you won't have to do this too much. But this is really interesting because it introduces ambiguity to parrying. And then the game completely forgets it's done this and you almost never have to do it ever again. And I feel like this is a missed opportunity right here. Because when I first saw this on hard, I thought on harder difficulties every enemy would have this combination of attack and dodge, and it would make it really different and dynamic when you were dodging people and you'd have to relearn the timings, but it doesn't. And maybe it's a good thing that it doesn't, because then it would be a lot harder, but as it stands, this is just a parry war that lasts a long time, and if you do not do parries, and if you're not practicing timings, you will get stuck here for a long time. Because this entire sequence is proving that you can parry on the beat. And if you can do that, it's very simple. If you can't do that, it's going to be a nightmare. Especially on this difficulty, because you probably get hit like a truck. But you need to practice this, guys. If you don't have this down, what are you going to do on Kale? You know, what are you going to do at the end of the game? You need to practice parrying, because the whole game wants you to do it in certain sequences, and nobody can do it for you. But thank you for watching, and you take care now.